The call came in the middle of the afternoon, just as I was finishing work and thinking about nothing more serious than traffic and dinner. My mother's name flashed on my phone, and for a split second, I almost let it ring. She rarely called during the day. When I answered, her voice was low, tight, and rushed, as if someone might overhear her even through the phone. "Hurry up, son," she said without greeting. "You need to come home now, and don't ask questions. We have to be quick if we want to keep this a secret." Before I could respond, the line went dead. I sat there staring at my phone, my heart thudding in my chest. A secret? My mother wasn't dramatic. She wasn't careless with words. Whatever this was, it was serious. I grabbed my keys and left immediately, the drive home blurring into a mess of red lights and anxious thoughts. I tried calling her back twice. No answer. When I pulled into the driveway, something felt wrong before I even stepped inside. The curtains were drawn in the middle of the day. My mother's car was parked crooked, as if she'd rushed in without caring how it looked. As I opened the front door, the house smelled unfamiliar, too much perfume mixed with panic. She appeared in the hallway almost instantly, eyes wide, hair undone, hands shaking. "You're here," she whispered, pulling me inside and closing the door quickly behind me. "Good, thank God." "What's going on?" I asked. "You scared me." "There's no time," she replied, already moving past me. "Your father will be home soon." That sentence landed harder than it should have. My father worked late most days. Soon wasn't normal. She led me toward the bedroom, her steps quick and uneven. As we passed the living room, I noticed things that didn't belong: an unfamiliar jacket draped over a chair, a coffee mug that wasn't ours, still warm. My stomach tightened. Inside her bedroom, she opened a drawer and began stuffing items into a bag: sheets, a folded shirt, something I couldn't fully see. "I need you to help me," she said, not looking at me. "Just do what I ask." "Help you with what?" I demanded, my voice rising despite my effort to keep it down. "Mom, what is happening?" She finally stopped and looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw fear there. Not the kind you feel from danger, but the kind that comes from being exposed. "This never leaves this house," she said. "Do you understand?" Before I could answer, I heard it, the sound of a car slowing outside, tires crunching on gravel. My father was home. My mother grabbed my arm, her grip tight and desperate. "Please," she whispered, "just this once." In that moment, standing in a room filled with strange things and unspoken truths, I realized something irreversible had already happened. I didn't know the full secret yet, but I knew my family would never feel the same again. My father's footsteps echoed through the hallway, steady and familiar, while my mother froze like a child caught doing something unforgivable. She pressed the bag into my hands, her eyes pleading without words. "Take it," she mouthed. "Bathroom, now." I didn't move fast enough. My mind was still trying to catch up with reality, trying to understand why my mother looked terrified of my father, why I was holding a bag filled with things that clearly didn't belong to our family. Then his voice came from the living room, calm and unsuspecting. "I'm home." Something inside me shifted. Instinct took over. I turned and slipped into the bathroom, locking the door behind me, just as my father's steps drew closer. I stood there, heart pounding, staring at my reflection. I barely recognized myself. I looked guilty, like someone with something to hide. I set the bag on the counter and hesitated before opening it. A part of me didn't want to know. Knowing would make this real. But curiosity and dread worked together, and soon I was staring at the contents: a men's shirt that wasn't my father's, a watch I'd never seen before, and a receipt from a hotel across town dated that very morning. My hands began to shake. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a coincidence. A knock sounded at the door. "Everything okay in there?" my father asked. "Yes," I said too quickly. I cleared my throat. "Just stomachache." There was a pause, then his footsteps faded away. I let out a breath I didn't realize I had been holding. When I finally stepped out, my mother was waiting for me in the hallway. She guided me into the kitchen, keeping her voice low as my father busied himself in the living room. "Did you see anything?" she asked. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time in my life, I saw not just my mother, but a deeply flawed person standing in front of me. "You're cheating on him," I said quietly. Her face crumpled, but she didn't deny it. She sank into a chair, pressing her fingers to her temples. "It wasn't supposed to happen," she whispered. "I didn't plan this. It just happened." "That's what everyone says," I replied, anger bubbling up beneath my shock. She explained in fragments: loneliness, years of emotional distance, feeling invisible. She said it wasn't serious, that it was already over, that today was a mistake she was trying to erase. "Your father can never know," she said firmly. "It would destroy him. It would destroy us." Us. The word felt heavy. I realized then what she was really asking. She wasn't asking for help cleaning. She was asking me to become part of the lie, to protect her secret at the cost of my own integrity. I glanced toward the living room, where my father laughed softly at something on television, completely unaware of the betrayal unfolding under his own roof. The weight of what I now knew settled deep in my chest. The secret wasn't just behind a door anymore. It was inside me, and it was already changing everything. That night, sleep refused to come. I lay in my childhood bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the afternoon like a scene that wouldn't end. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my father's face, relaxed, trusting, completely unaware of the betrayal unfolding under his own roof. And then I saw my mother, desperate and afraid, clinging to me as if she were her last line of defense. Morning brought no relief. At breakfast, the three of us sat at the same table, passing plates and exchanging routine comments, pretending everything was normal. The clink of cutlery felt too loud. Every word felt staged. My father asked about my work, about traffic, about nothing at all, and I answered automatically, my mind elsewhere. My mother avoided my eyes. After my father left for work, she wasted no time. "We need to talk," she said, locking the door behind him, as if the truth itself might try to follow. She poured coffee neither of us drank, and sat across from me, her hands wrapped tightly around the mug. "I know what I'm asking of you," she began, "and I hate myself for it. But you're my son. I need you to protect this family." "By lying to him?" I asked. My voice was steady, but inside I was shaking. "By giving us time," she replied quickly. "Time to fix things, time to end this the right way." She reached for my hand. "Your father doesn't need to be hurt like that, not after everything." Everything. The sacrifices, the years of work, the quiet love he showed in small, consistent ways. I pulled my hand back. "And what about me?" I asked. "What am I supposed to do every time I look at him, every time he talks about trust?" Her face crumpled, but she didn't deny it. She sank into a chair, pressing her fingers to her temples. "I made a mistake," she said, "but it shouldn't cost all of us our future." That's when I realized the trap I was in. If I told my father, I would be the one who shattered his world. If I stayed silent, I would be betraying him every single day. There was no clean choice, only different kinds of guilt. Over the next few days, the house grew tense. My father sensed it. He asked if something was wrong, if work was stressing us out, if we were keeping secrets from him. Each time, my mother brushed it off. Each time, I felt my silence dig deeper into my chest. At night, my mother would knock on my door, whispering reassurances. "I've ended it," she said. "It's over, I promise." But promises felt cheap now. Trust, once cracked, didn't heal easily. I started avoiding my father, afraid I might blurt out the truth if I stayed too long. He noticed. "Did I do something?" he asked one evening, confusion clouding his eyes. "No," I replied quickly. "It's not you." And that was the cruelest part. It truly wasn't. By the end of the week, I felt older, heavier, as if I'd been forced into adulthood overnight.
I wasn't just a son anymore. I was a keeper of a secret that didn't belong to me, standing in the middle of a marriage that was slowly breaking apart. And deep down, I knew this silence couldn't last forever.
The silence in the house grew louder with each passing day. It wasn't the peaceful kind of quiet my parents used to share after dinner when my father read the newspaper and my mother folded laundry nearby. This was different, sharp, watchful, filled with things left unsaid. Every conversation felt like it was balancing on the edge of something dangerous. My father was the first to change. He began coming home earlier than usual, his routine suddenly unpredictable. He asked more questions, small ones at first. Where had my mother gone that afternoon? Why was she on her phone so often? Why did she seem distracted when he spoke? His voice stayed calm, but his eyes lingered too long, searching for answers we weren't giving. My mother tried to act normal, but guilt made her clumsy. She laughed too loudly at his jokes, over-explained simple things, and jumped whenever the phone rang. At night, I could hear them talking in their bedroom, low voices, then silence, then the unmistakable sound of an argument being swallowed before it could fully exist. One evening, I walked into the kitchen to find my father standing by the counter, staring at nothing. "Your mother's been distant," he said without looking at me. "Have you noticed?" My chest tightened. This was the moment I had feared, the moment the truth hovered just behind my lips, begging to be released. "She's just tired," I said instead. The lie tasted bitter. He nodded slowly, unconvinced. People don't pull away for no reason. From that day on, suspicion crept into everything. A late shower, a locked phone, a missed call. My father began waking up in the middle of the night, pacing the hallway, while my mother pretended to sleep. I lay awake too, listening, knowing I was part of the deception now. One night, the tension finally cracked. It started over something trivial, I think, but quickly spiraled into something deeper. My father accused my mother of hiding things. She denied it, her voice trembling but firm. He asked if there was someone else. The room went still. "No," she said after a pause that felt far too long. I watched my father's face change, not with anger, but with hurt. "Then why does it feel like I've already lost you?" he asked quietly. I wanted to scream. I wanted to confess everything and end this slow torture. But my mother caught my eye, her silent plea freezing me in place. I stayed quiet, and the argument ended without resolution, just two people retreating to opposite sides of the same bed. After that, nothing was the same. My father stopped asking questions and started observing instead. My mother became withdrawn, fragile, as if carrying a weight too heavy to bear alone. And I felt myself breaking under the pressure of holding their marriage together with lies. The cracks were no longer hidden. They were spreading, visible to anyone who cared to look. And I understood then that secrets don't protect families, they rot them from the inside. It was only a matter of time before everything collapsed. The truth didn't come out the way I imagined. There was no shouting at first, no dramatic accusations or slammed doors. It arrived quietly, almost gently, which somehow made it worse. It happened on a Sunday morning. My father had taken my mother's phone by mistake when his battery died overnight. I was in the hallway when I heard him call her name, confusion threaded through his voice. "Why do you have messages from a number that isn't saved?" My mother froze mid-step. I saw it in her face before she spoke. The same fear from that afternoon weeks ago, only now there was nowhere left to run. "They're just work messages," she said too quickly, walking toward him. My father looked down at the phone again. "So then why do they say they miss you?" Silence swallowed the room. I felt my heart pounding in my ears. This was it, the moment everything I had carried alone was about to spill into the open. My mother reached for the phone, but my father stepped back. He wasn't angry yet. He looked wounded, like someone bracing for a blow they already knew was coming. "Tell me the truth. Just once, please." She tried to speak. Nothing came out. Her shoulders slumped. And in that small movement, the lie collapsed. Tears streamed down her face as she nodded slowly. "Yes," she whispered, "there was someone else." The sound my father made then wasn't a shout. It was softer, a broken exhale, like something inside him had finally given way. He sat down heavily on the couch, staring at the floor. "How long?" he asked. She answered between sobs. "Weeks, months." Each word felt like another cut. I watched my father press his hands together, knuckles white, as if holding himself together by force alone. He asked why. She gave the same explanations she'd given me: loneliness, distance, feeling unseen. This time they sounded hollow, stripped of any power to soften the damage. "You could have talked to me," he said quietly. "I would have listened." That's when he looked at me. "And you?" he asked. "Did you know?" My throat closed. There was no escaping it now. I nodded, shame burning through me. "I'm sorry," I said. "She asked me not to tell you." For a moment I thought he might be angry at me. Instead, his eyes filled with something worse, disappointment mixed with understanding. "I wish you hadn't been put in that position," he said softly. The room felt heavy with grief. My mother cried openly. My father sat in silence, absorbing the wreckage of his marriage. I stood there, useless, realizing that keeping the secret hadn't protected anyone. It had only delayed the pain and deepened it. That afternoon, my father packed a small bag. He said he needed space to think, to breathe. At the door, he turned back once, looking at both of us. "We'll talk," he said, "but nothing will ever be the same." As the door closed behind him, the house felt emptier than it ever had before. The secret was finally out, but the cost of hiding it had already been paid in full. The days after my father left moved slowly, as if time itself had grown heavy with everything that had been said. The house felt hollow without him, too quiet, too still. Every room carried echoes of a life that no longer existed. My mother drifted through the days like a shadow, barely eating, barely sleeping, her eyes swollen from crying. The urgency that once drove her had vanished, replaced by regret that arrived too late to fix anything. My father didn't call at first. When he finally did, his voice was calm but distant, as if he were speaking from far away. He said he was staying with a friend and needed time to think. "I'm not angry all the time. Mostly I'm just tired." Hearing that hurt more than if he had shouted. When he came back to talk, it wasn't to argue, it was to decide. The three of us sat in the living room, the same place where birthdays had been celebrated and holidays planned. Now it felt like neutral ground, a courtroom for a marriage on trial. My father spoke carefully, choosing his words with painful precision. He said trust once broken doesn't simply return because someone is sorry. My mother apologized again and again, her voice breaking, promising transparency, counseling, change, anything. He listened. That, more than anything, showed his character, but listening didn't mean forgiving. In the end, they chose separation, not out of hatred, but out of honesty. My father admitted he couldn't look at her without seeing the betrayal. My mother admitted she had taken his love for granted until it was gone. There were no winners, only consequences. For me, the guilt lingered. I struggled with the role I had played, the silence I had kept. One evening, my father sat with me alone. He said, "You were trying to protect your mother. I don't blame you, but remember this, secrets demand loyalty, and they always take more than they give." Those words stayed with me. Life slowly reshaped itself. 2 homes instead of 1, awkward holidays, conversations that avoided the past, even when it hovered between us. My relationship with my mother changed forever, not broken, but altered by the knowledge of who she was capable of being. Trust became something cautious, earned in pieces. Looking back, I understand now that infidelity doesn't only betray a partner, it fractures an entire family. It forces children into impossible positions and turns love into a battlefield of silence and lies. This story isn't about blame alone, it's about accountability, about the truth arriving whether we are ready or not, and about learning, painfully, that protecting a secret is not the same as protecting a family. Some wounds fade, others become lessons you carry for life.